The sun was at our backs as we made our way from Bend, Oregon. The air was cool and clean as we headed west on the Cascade Lakes Highway. My good friend Aaron was in front of me riding his Husqvarna 701. We were almost at the turnoff for Forest Road 370. The plan was to turn off the main highway and find out if the snow had melted enough to make it from Todd Lake to Big Lake on the back roads and trails. Spoiler alert, we did make it, but we had a few challenges. At this point in the ride, I'd already ridden 150 miles from my home in the Willamette Valley, so I knew it was going to be a long day. We also had a side mission to make it up the rim of a cinder pit for an epic view. Last year I attempted the same cinder pit ride on my old Norden and ended up laying the bike down. With clear blue skies, we had a spectacular view of Mount Bachelor, the Sisters, and Broken Top. Mount Bachelor and the other nearby mountains reside in the Cascade Mountain Range located in central Oregon. Mount Bachelor formed between 8,000 and 18,000 years ago and is technically a volcano. The U.S. Geological Survey considers Mount Bachelor a moderate threat, but the mountain poses little threat of becoming an active volcano in the near future. It remains unclear whether the volcano is extinct or just inactive. Mount Bachelor ski area was opened in 1958 with a rope tow and a single lift. Mount Bachelor has since grown to be one of the largest ski resorts in the United States. We didn't stop at Todd Lake, but did see a lot of people parking by the road and unloading a variety of flotation devices. Todd Lake is a natural 45-acre lake that's a popular destination for locals. In the winter, the highway to Todd Lake is closed due to snow. However, the trails around Todd Lake are very popular routes for cross-country skiing and snowshoeing. The lake and surrounding forest is managed by the U.S. Forest Service as part of the Deschutes National Forest. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife regularly stocks the lake with brook trout. There's a day use area and a rustic campground located on the west shore. We headed north on Forest Road 370. I traveled this road last year and remember it was dusty. Fortunately, after Todd Lake, the road is unmaintained, so it keeps the traffic down. In the winter, there's a gate near Todd Lake that's closed off. It typically opens sometime in the summer after the gate for Cascade Lakes Highway. Forest Road 370 is a popular road for high-clearance vehicles and motorcycles. We heard there was still some snow on Forest Road 370 and were hoping we could make it through on our motorcycles. The weather was sunny and perfect, but we knew it would be getting hot later in the day. I was finding myself hanging back a ways behind Aaron just to stay out of the dust. Fortunately, as anticipated, we did not come across a lot of vehicles or motorcycles. Central Oregon has a wide variety of riding surfaces for motorcycles. For example, on this ride, there's pavement, gravel, cinder, sand, dirt, rocks, mud, and snow. I wasn't happy with the off-road performance of the factory tires on the Norden, so I recently purchased the Motos Tractionator RAL-Z tires. I have a couple short rides on the tires, but still looking forward to testing them on non-paved surfaces. So far I like them, but one of the trade-offs with more aggressive tires is an increase in road noise on the pavement. These tires are no exception. There's certainly a noticeable increase in road noise. From the factory, the Norden 901 Expedition features Pirelli Scorpion Rally STR tires. I'd say that the road performance on the stock Pirelli tires is pretty good, but I really wanted more off-road performance, especially on loose sand and mud. I also own a Gas ES700 Enduro that I put more aggressive tires on. The Gas ES700 is basically the same bike as a KTM 690 and the Husqvarna 701 Enduro with different plastic. I was talking with my brother the other day comparing the Norden 901 to the Gas on gravel and dirt roads. In some ways, the Norden feels more stable and predictable. Of course, when you get into the extremely rough or technical trails, the Gas really shines. The other thing that I find interesting and surprising when comparing these two bikes is how they handle the weight of luggage. Most people probably think that a bigger bike would handle being loaded up with camping gear better than a smaller bike would. In my opinion, the Norden is already a somewhat heavy bike, so it's a lot more work in the technical stuff. If you take that same heavy bike and put 50 pounds of gear on it, you can really feel it, and it's even more challenging on non-paved surfaces. On my Gas, I had Paul at Evo, Oregon replace my rear shock spring and my front fork springs to account for my weight and the weight of camping gear. He also did some shim work on the valves as well as adding an X-Trig preload adjuster to the rear shock. I find that when you load up the Gas ES700 with the same 50 pounds of camping gear, it's still a lot easier to handle in the rough stuff than the Norden with the same amount of gear. I hope that makes sense. The Gas with the C-Concept seats really is not that bad to ride on the road either. Of course, with the Norden, there's heated seat, grips, along with cruise control. Maybe I need to do a review comparison video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Speaking of reviews, I do have one major complaint about the Norden 901 Expedition, and that's the factory pannier bags. They are made with plastic clips that hold the bags on, and it makes it easy to remove the bags, but unfortunately I learned the hard way that the clips are garbage and break easily. A few weeks ago I set out on a camping trip on the Norden 901. I had the pannier bags full, but not with heavy items. I was scouting around for a camping spot on dirt roads when one of the clips broke and the bag fell off. I didn't know it fell off until miles later when I took a break. I'd been exploring and made several turns, so I had no idea where the bag fell off. I was extremely lucky when I was backtracking and I ran across some people that found it. I've since ordered and installed the Tusk brand pannier rack so I can use my Olympus bags on both of my bikes. We came across a lot of snowdrifts, which certainly made the ride more interesting and scenic. Many of the snowdrifts we were able to just ride around, but on a few we had no choice but to ride directly over the top. So far the traction has been really good with the new tires. The Norden has a lot of weight on the front wheels, so in loose material like snow or sand, the steering can be unpredictable at slow speeds. There were a lot of spots in the road where large ruts had developed from the snow melting. For the next half hour, we worked our way through the snowdrifts and even came to some water crossings. Somehow, both of us were able to keep our bikes upright. For the following few minutes, you won't have to listen to me talk in the video, just motorcycle noises. By all means, if you don't like scenic motorcycle rides, you might want to look away. Having snow on the ground changes the whole look and feel of the ride. The snow makes the ride much more scenic and much more of an adventure. You never know if you're going to come around a corner only to find an impassable pile of snow. As a rule of thumb, it's always a good idea to never ride down a road or trail that you can't make it back up, unless you're 100% certain there's another way out. That way, if you do need to turn around, you're not trapped. We made our way down to lower elevation and the snowdrift slowly disappeared. We stopped for a quick break and then set our sights on Three Creek Lake. The terrain continued to change. There were more rocky sections mixed in with sand. We saw a few overlanders out on the trail enjoying their day. So far, except for the snow, the roads would be passable by even larger adventure bikes with an average rider. Even on these unmaintained forest roads, it's probably a good idea to use hand signals to let passing vehicles know how many riders are behind you. The Motaz Tractionator tires seem to be performing well. Any issues I had can be attributed to my riding skills. The temperature was steadily climbing, and I was looking forward to a cold beverage at Three Creek Lake store. Three Creek Lake covers 76 acres and has a depth of 11 to 28 feet. The elevation is 6,550 feet. Three Creek Lake is overshadowed by Tam MacArthur Rim, named after Oregon Geographic Names Secretary from 1916 to 1949. Surrounded by old-growth forest, fishing and hiking are among the most popular recreational activities. We were able to find a parking spot near the front of the store. The store has snacks ranging from candy, chips, and ice cream. Of course, they also have cold soda and beer. The store also rents paddleboards and small boats you can take out on the lake. We grabbed a beverage, took a short break, then continued our adventure. At this point, you're probably thinking that the cinder pit is just a description of a location. While that might be accurate, the name on the map is actually the Cinder Pit. It's located just a couple miles north of Three Creek Lake. The view from the top on a clear day makes it a worthwhile detour. We made it to the top of the cinder pit without any carnage. It was turning out to be a really warm day, so we took another break to rehydrate. We took a few minutes to soak in the incredible views and take a few pictures. After our break, we made our way towards Big Lake. The closer we got to Big Lake, the deeper the sand pockets were on the trail. We also ran into some really rocky sections on the road. Eventually, we made it to Big Lake and met some friendly campers. We had a good chat, then headed our separate ways. I took the highway back towards the Willamette Valley, and Aaron headed towards Bend. I'll leave you with a few more minutes of footage. I'm glad I could bring you along.